So we have our API right here, and for now it has two gets, and there is one little resource right here. And so what we want to do is deploy this API to my stages. So let's go back to resources and we'll do action, deploy API. Now when we deploy an API, we have to choose a stage, and currently we don't have any stages, so we'll choose a new stage. The stage name is going to be, for example, dev, and the stage description, dev stage. I'll just have it lowercase. Okay. And deployment description, we'll say first deployment to dev. Here we go, we deploy our code. So now our code is now in stage. And so our whole API is under this dev little boat right here. And so we can see the exact same resources as we had from before, except this time we have a URL we can use to invoke our stage. So let's click on it. And as we can see now, using this URL /dev, because we are in the dev stage, we have a response from our Lambda function, status code 200, body, hello from Lambda. Amazing, but what if we go to /houses? Then we get a different response, status 200, body, we have beautiful houses. And so we have built and deployed a API already, a REST API. Now this doesn't seem like much, but we actually did a lot. And all of this is serverless. My Lambda functions are being invoked as I go to different paths. Now in this deployment stage, as you can see, we have a lot of different options. So we will not go over all of them, but you can have a cache, you can throttle some methods, we'll see this later on. We can enable logs and tracing, so we can have CloudWatch logs, etc. Stage variables is what I've been hammering you with. So here we can say add a stage variable, alias, for example, and have it the value being dev. So we know that if we use this alias variable in our resources now, we'll be able to make decisions and point it to the right Lambda function, but this is just an example to illustrate. We could generate an SDK for Android, JavaScript, iOS, etc. We could export our API as Swagger and so on, or Postman extension or API Gateway extension. So we have a lot of different options, and we can use Swagger or OpenAPI 3. We can get a history of the deployment. So as we change the resources right back there and redeploy to the stage dev, then we'll get an idea of all the deployments that happen, and we can roll back at any time to an early deployment if something went wrong. Documentation history if we wanted to provide documentation for our API, and Canary to do this testing I told you about when we have, for example, 95% of our traffic going to one API version and the other one 5% to go to the other API version, and you can control this. Obviously, if you go to your resources, you could deploy your API one more time, and we could create a new stage and call this stage prod, and this is prod API, and here deployment to prod, whatever I want to say it, and I deploy. And now we have two stages, and our production API can be invoked using this URL. As we can see, we get the same results as before because we deployed the exact same API, but now we have the /prod. So we can go to /prompt/houses and get another response. So this is it for our API. Here we have deployed two stages, and we could really expand with stage variables if we wanted to. But for now, we'll just have conceptually the understanding that stage variables allow us to modularize our deployment and customize what our API gateway does. So that's it for this lecture. I hope you liked it. I hope that stages make sense now, and I will see you in the next lecture.